a word of praise. We're awakening to gratitude this whole month, and my message this morning is awakening at one with the world, at one with the world. And although Ernest Holmes has hardly anything with the word gratitude or praise, or those of us who have concordances know that we can look it up for all we want, but he just didn't use those words. But he has hundreds of quotes about unity, and we couldn't praise, we couldn't be in that place of gratitude if we weren't one with the one. So I'm going to begin by reading you a little bit from what he says about oneness. He says, the voice of God in creation. The argument has been something after this manner. The ultimate cause back of all things must be one, since life cannot be divided against itself. The infinite must be one, for there could not be two infinite beings. Whatever change takes place must take place within the one. But this one must be changeless, for being one and only, it could not change into anything but itself. All seeming change is merely the play of life upon itself, and all that happens must happen by and through some interaction upon itself. What would be the nature of this interaction? It could not be physical, as we understand physics, but would have to be by the power of some inner movement of life. That is, the voice of God. God standing for first cause, the only cause of all that is. So, in other words, the thing that, no matter what we're looking at, what we're always seeing is the expression of God, of good. Whether we're looking at something that we're going to easily label good, like joy, like Thanksgiving, like desserts, like prosperity, like health, like happiness, any of those things. But that isn't what Holmes is saying. He's saying everywhere, that divine expression is creating out of itself, moving through itself. So when we are experiencing unhappiness, dis-ease, pain, disappointment, any of those things, it's also an expression of the one, which is changeless. And for us to learn to stop judging ourselves and others about whatever is going on in our lives, but rather to learn that this too is a moment to be grateful, a moment to give thanks, a moment to experience that presence of God. That we truly do experience when we let our hearts open with gratitude. We feel the love that is our divine nature, our essence. I love this, the way universal mind works, because always we have a microcosm, macrocosm experience. So what that means is that no matter what I'm looking at, whether it's the tiniest thing or the biggest thing, I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing the same thing. We live in a holographic universe, which, if you cut a holograph in pieces, every single piece is the whole holograph. It's the whole picture. It's the same with our lives. So I can take any portion of my life and examine it, and I will come to the same conclusion that every aspect of my life is the same thing. And you can do the same thing. That if we look at something like, let's say we're looking at relationships, that our relationships, whatever's going on there, will also be reflected in our prosperity, will also be reflected in our creativity, will also be reflected in our work. Why? Because there's only one. And we're rooted in that one, but it comes through our subjective beliefs. And whatever they are, they're affecting everything. Now, never just one thing, but everything at all times. And so for this service, for us, it's about finding that we are one with the world just the way it is. Exactly the way it is. With all of those wonderful things and with all of those things that we might call or label dreadful. That it's still all God and it's all good. In our book of awakening, Patty Mercado reminded me of a story I want to share with you, that she's working with the children this morning, and they're looking at ways to be thankful and being grateful and listening. They're listening. They're listening both with their ears and with their hearts. How fabulous. We can do the same thing, to listen with our ears and our hearts. And the story in our book of awakening that I'd like to relate is a story about a young prince who wanted to expand his consciousness. So the emperor sent him out, and he said, go into the forest for a year and listen, and come back and tell me what you hear. So he went for it, and he listened very carefully. He listened, he made notes, he listened to all of the sounds in the forest, and came back, and he said, I hear such wonderful things. I heard the wind in the trees, and I heard the squirrels as they were doing their thing, and I heard the crickets chirping and all sorts of things. And the emperor said, but you did not hear everything. So go back into the forest and listen again. And so he was so puzzled. I've listened so carefully. I've heard every sound. And he got still and got quiet. And then he heard it. And he went back to the emperor and he said, I now heard it. I heard the sound before the flower grows. The sound of life flowing through the trees. That sound, the pre-sound sound, is the sound that we only can hear in mind. But all the time, if we listen deeply, we can hear it. There is something absolutely magnificent that is flowing through you right now. It's your life. It's the lifeblood of you. And it's saying, awaken to gratitude, awaken to gratitude, awaken to gratitude. In all things, give thanks. Not for all things, in all things, give thanks. I was working with my spiritual mentor this Friday, and we had a fabulous session. I work with Reverend Dr. Karen Kushner, who's a wonderful minister and practitioner and coach. And what she does with me is we just talk at first. She goes, well, what's going on and what are you doing? And then one of the practices is, if something's going on that you don't particularly like, she'll say, well, what's your worst fear about that? If you intensified it, go out to the nth degree, what would happen if this just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse? Well, I was talking about being inactive and not looking after my body and so I pictured myself 300 pounds, not able to get up on the platform and having 3 or 4 people here to talk to, and the feeling was shame. There was great shame, and what I do to avoid that shame is I protect myself. I hide the real feelings. I hide the real experiences, the authentic self. But what I'm really longing to be feeling and expressing is joy. And the only way I could feel and express that joy is to be willing to acknowledge that I've been protecting something that, guess what, it didn't need to be protected. Because the authentic self is far more magnificent than any of our, whatever we think that physically or mentally or socially we could be, that's all nothing compared to the magnificence of the light in us. God's light in each one of us, which is eternal, is absolute beauty, is magnificence, is awe-inspiring. That's what I'm talking about. So Karen was working with me, and we worked, and we get to some practices of forgiveness and release. So I'm releasing even a belief in shame, because shame doesn't really have anything to do with God. And I'm releasing my need to protect, because the essence of God doesn't need to be protected. And I'm grateful that I am the joy that I am. But another story, again from our book, and that's a story, you know this story of Theseus and the Minotaur, that Theseus couldn't go home. He'd been, I love these myths. He was away for all of these years, 10 years or something, fighting this. And then he knew that he had to slay this beast that was at the middle of a labyrinth. It was a very complicated labyrinth, and the only way to get out, Ariadne, the spider woman, had woven a web for him to follow, the string to follow on the way back to get out. And we're like that. We are absolutely on our own journey. We're on our own path. We're like Theseus. We are looking for our way home. That's our spiritual journey. We're always looking for home. It's the spiritual home we're looking for, not a physical one. We're looking for that home. And in order to get there, we often had to go to the inner core of us and slay the beast there. That dark side that we've been saying, not me, that's not me. And then we need to carefully take that string of the spider web, which is pretty yucky, and take it all the way back out the labyrinth to the end, to the other side, to get home. It's a great metaphor for our spiritual practice, our spiritual path, that when we come into this science, this teaching, this philosophy, we start with changing our thinking. And we change our thinking, we get real clear to notice what our thoughts were thinking, and we change our thinking, and that's so good. We need to be able to do that, to be disciplined with our thinking, so we're thinking thoughts that are joyful and thoughts that are constructive and thoughts that are positive. But then as we go deeper in our spiritual work, we get to a place where we recognize that even those parts that weren't in alignment with God's truth have to be reclaimed. It's the shadow side. It's that dark stuff. It's the dark night of the soul. All of that stuff also needs to be said, yes, this too is part of my path. This too is God. This too is part of the world that I'm claiming to be one with and I love. And to love it. And to love it just the way it has been. And the way you do that is go back out. So, microcosm, macrocosm. So, we'd done this fabulous work, and it was a bit unsettling. Always, I go very deep with my mentor, and she coaches me over the phone. And I did some work in the afternoon, and then I did some things here for the installation today, and then I went to a party. And at the party, I recreated that very, very same thing. That very thing that I was finished with, the thing of shame and protecting and wanting to express joy, I recreated it. That's how it's always in our life. Look at any part of your life and it's still there. It's there. And for me, it's about not making that wrong. I felt really badly that I'd done this, which is the shame part. And then, so I emailed all of my friends, said, please excuse me for ruining your party, which of course that's quite dramatic. I don't think it was quite a ruin. In fact, here's the thing for all of us, stuff that happens for you, you think it's everything in the world because it's happening for you. The rest of the people don't even remember it happened. Or if they did, it's like, what? Not a big deal. Anyway, it's just something to notice. In this book also, in the Book of Awakening, there's a beautiful story he tells about the caribou in the Arctic. And I just want to get to the right page, which is right here. And he says that every year the caribou run this particular path, and I think it's the edge of the tundra. He calls it the scalp of the Arctic. And the caribou do that, and so over the years, the coyotes are just lined up, ready for dinner, because they're going to have this caribou just coming right in front of them. And even though thousands of years it's been the same way, caribou running this course, coyotes prepared all along the way to feast, they still do it. They still do it. And his point is that when we're called to do something, we need to say yes to it, even though there may be apparent danger on the route. He says this, he says, these elegant animals bespeak a force deeper than courage, and though some would call the caribou stupid, the mystery of their migration reveals to us the quiet, irrepressible emergence of living over hiding, being over thinking, participating over observing, and of thriving over surviving. Let me read you those 4 things. This is us. This is what we're called to. We're called to live over hiding, living in over hiding, being over thinking, participating over observing, and thriving over surviving. It's about thriving. He goes on to say, in regions near the Arctic, the caribou are not seen as animals living out of instinct at all costs. Rather, it is believed that their endless run, no matter what stands in the way, is what keeps the earth turning. What keeps the earth turning. And somewhere beneath all hesitation and despair, is our endless call to being in each of us and all together. It keeps the fire at the center of the earth burning. Keeps the fire at the center of us burning. That endless call to being, that's what we're called. Today we're celebrating our wonderful new ministers, installing them, and they are called to ministry. But each one of us is called to a certain form of expression. And it is that fire at the center of the earth that we keep burning. Many of us really love Louise Hay, and over the years, the very beginning of my metaphysical journey, she was one of my standbys. I read her book over and over and over again, did the workbook journaling and so on. And this is a prayer I'd like to share with you. It's a gratitude prayer. And she says this. She always starts her prayers the same way. Deep in the center of my being, there is an infinite well of gratitude. I now allow this gratitude to fill my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being. This gratitude radiates out from me in all directions, touching everything in my world, and returns to me as more to be grateful for. The more gratitude I feel, the more I am aware that the supply is endless. The use of gratitude makes me feel good. It is an expression of my inner joy. It is a warm fuzzy in my life. I'm grateful for myself and for my body. I'm grateful for my ability to see and hear, feel and taste and touch. I'm grateful for my home, and I take loving care of it. I'm grateful for my loving family and friends, and I rejoice in their company. I'm grateful for my work, and I give it my best at all times. I am grateful for my talents and abilities, and I continually express them in ways that are fulfilling. I'm grateful for my income, and I know that I prosper wherever I turn. I'm grateful for all my past experiences, for I know that they are part of my soul's growth. I'm grateful for all of nature, and I am respectful of every living thing. I'm grateful for today, and I am grateful for tomorrows that come. I am grateful for life now and forevermore. And with that, we're going to close by watching a video that is about the best day and having this be the best ride. So we'll watch, and I'm going to narrate it for those with vision issues. Enjoy the ride. This comes from my friend Doris. Here's some tips that will bring you a beautiful day. Take a 10 to 30 minute walk every day, and while you walk, smile. Sit in the silence for at least 10 minutes each day. When you wake up in the morning, complete the following statement. My purpose today is to something today. Love today. Pray today. Live with the 3 E's, energy, enthusiasm, empathy, and the 3 F's, faith, family, and friends. Spend more time with people over the age of 70 and under the age of 6. Dream more while you are awake. Try to make at least 3 people smile each day. Realize that life is a school and you are here to learn. Problems are simply part of life that appear to fade away like algebra class, but the lessons you learn will last a lifetime. Smile and laugh more. It will keep the energy vampires away. Life isn't fair, but it's still good. And who says it isn't fair? Life is too short to waste time hating anyone. Don't take yourself too seriously. No one else does. Aww. You don't have to win every argument. Agree to disagreements. Make peace with the past so it won't mess up the present. Don't compare your life with others. You have no idea what their journey is all about. Burn the candles. Use the nice sheets. Don't save it for a special occasion. Today is special. No one is in charge of your happiness except you. Forgive everyone for everything. What other people think of you is none of your business. However good or bad a situation is, it will change. Time heals almost everything. Give time. Your job won't take care of you when you're sick. Your friends will stay in touch. Get rid of anything that isn't useful, beautiful, or joyful. The best is yet to come. No matter how you feel, get up, dress up, and show up. Do the right thing. Call your family often. Each night before you go to bed, complete the following statements. I'm thankful for today I accomplished. Remember that you are too blessed to be stressed. Enjoy the ride. Remember, this is not Disney World, and you certainly don't want a fast pass. Make the most of it and enjoy the ride. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much.